Hello, my name's Yvonne and I'm the current community leader for both Glasgow and Dundee Classical Conversations communities. Today I would like to share with you a little bit about what Classical Conversations is, what we mean by a classical education, and how you can use Classical Conversations at home to provide your family with a classical Christian home education. So, Classical Conversations is a Christian home education curriculum using the classical methodology with communities all over the world. So if you up and move to another country, more likely there will be a CC community there that you can just slot right in with. CC's mission is quite simply to know God and to make Him known, and that is central to everything we do. We believe that parents are our children's first and best educators, and that it is their responsibility to educate their children. Therefore, CC comes alongside the parents and provides them with support and training needed in the classical tools and the curriculum so that they can provide their children with that classical Christian education. And in most cases, they redeem their own education at the same time. You'll hear that a lot in home education. When you home educate, you teach yourself as well. So, what is education? So today we're at a Unite for Education event, so we're going to hear education a lot. But I guarantee, if you ask most people what is education, what do they mean by education? Most of them will think of that which happens between a teacher and a student in an educational establishment for 38 weeks of the year. And the piece of paper that they may or may not even achieve at the end of it. In fact, this is how the Oxford English Dictionary currently defines education. But let me ask you, what do you think of when you think of education? Do we not educate our children when we give them a crayon to draw in, when we skip count with them going along the road, when we hold a ball out in front of them and say, ball, ball, and show them it rolling along the floor? Yes, we do. Even when we read that favourite book for what feels like the gazillionth time and they're not even paying attention to it. Parents are the child's first and most important educator. And we've been doing it since the day they were born. So if you're a parent, you're already a home educator. If you take 5 minutes and think about your child when they were born, and then if they're already in school or 5 years old, think about how much they learned during that period of time. They went from being unable to do anything to being able to sit, to be able to ask for things, to read, some of them can read, to identify shapes, colours, walk, talk. All of this happened before they were even of compulsory school age. So, what did the Oxford Dictionary say? It says education is a process. It's teaching, training and learning, especially in schools, colleges or universities, to improve knowledge and develop the skills. But when I speak of education, I much prefer the almost 200-year-old definition from the Merriam-Webster 1828 dictionary, which relates education back to its Latin roots, educatio educario, which means to draw out the bringing up of a child. It says, the bringing up as of a child, instruction, formation of manners, education comprehends all that series of instruction and discipline which is intended to enlighten the understanding, correct the temper, and form the manners and habits of youth, and fit them for their future stations in life. To give children a good education in manners, arts and science is important, but to give them a religious education is indispensable, and an immense responsibility rests on parents and guardians who neglect these duties. So what do you think? Is education only done in the state schools? Or is education more than that? Are we as parents responsible? Should we have an active role in our children's education? And know what they are being educated in? What manners, worldviews and skills are they being trained in? As Christians, we are commanded to diligently teach our children in the ways of the Lord. When we sit, when we walk, when we lie down, when we rise. In Deuteronomy 6:7, there is no time where it says, take a wee rest and don't bother educating. And in Proverbs again, we're told to train up our child in the way he should go, so that when he's old he will not depart from it. For me, that invokes a picture of a road or a path. But in order to have a road or a path, you need a destination. If we don't know where we're going, and if those we trust to help us get there don't have that same destination in mind, we can't lay down the road to get there. We pray that our children will know and love the Lord, and that they'll make wise choices along the way. Proverbs 9:10 declares that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the holy is understanding. So if the road to wisdom is through knowledge and understanding, which all begins with the fear of the Lord, then the classical Christian model of education pairs with this beautifully. So that's education, but what do we mean by classical? Because that can be quite airy-fairy for a lot of people when they say, what? So the classical education model consists of the 7 liberal arts, which you may have heard of, which is subdivided into the trivium, which actually means where 3 roads meet, and the quadrivium, which would have made up the content of your university education. So in classical conversations, the programmes are based on the foundational arts, they're based on the trivium. This is how we teach in our homes or in classical schools. We build knowledge in the grammar stage by asking questions and gaining an understanding. In the dialectic stage, leading towards wisdom and mastery in the rhetoric stage. So the trivium follows the natural development, not only of children, which a lot of people think it's just little ones that follow the trivium, but a learner of any age. We use many different methods, and it will take variable amounts of time to achieve it. But what holds true for everyone is that in the grammar stage, you learn by memorising, be that names, dates, places, facts, people. In the dialectic stage, gain that understanding by analysing what you've learned and asking why, how, testing out your theories. And in the rhetoric stage, we attain wisdom. We have mastered the knowledge, we have understanding, and now we can impart that knowledge in a coherent manner to others. Authority, and we're wise. Each stage in this journey is learning, is a leg on our journey, and it's continuous. It goes from end to end. We're always improving, always revisiting on the prior. And using this model, we can equip both our children and ourselves to learn and thrive in any environment, be that taking up a new hobby, we learn the names of the equipment, or starting a new job, learning who's the best person to sit next to and who to avoid at the water cooler, or moving city and finding out where the places are that you're going to go. But if we take the classical model and we take the biblical worldview and we place it on a desire to truly know God and make Him known, we have what we distinctly call a classical Christian education. So what does that look like in a CC community? So CC has 3 programmes: Foundations, Essentials and Challenge. So for our Foundations community on a CC day, students aged 4 to 13 with their parents will gather together to learn new grammar across 7 subjects: English, science, Latin, history, geography and timeline. We move, we sing, we dance, we do silly voices, and we have fun memorising all these facts. But that's not all. We also engage in 4 other learning segments. Students are able to find a wonderment in the hands-on science. Each student gives a 3-minute presentation on a subject of their choosing, which helps develop their confidence and their ability to publicly speak. We experience fine arts through learning how to draw, music theory. We imitate and study the great masters of art and classical composers. And we play review games because it's the repetition of foundations that build the knowledge. When, in addition to our morning, so this is a CC morning, just for foundations before lunch. So in addition to our morning, our essential students who are aged 9 to 13, they also take part in our afternoon essentials programme, which includes English grammar, mental math games, and history-based writing. Because history in classical conversations is taught in cycles. We have 3 cycles. Cycle 1 we do ancient history, cycle 2 medieval history, and cycle 3 here in Scotland we do UK/Scotland and modern world history. The capstone project for our essential students is their Faces of History event, where each of the students every year chooses an individual from the historical period we've been studying. They go away and independently research that person from multiple sources, and then they pull all of that together and write a 5-paragraph research paper which they present to their peers and parents and community. Subsequently after that, they take that paper, pull it apart, and they rewrite it as a first-person narrative, which they'll then dress up at our Face of History End of Year event, come and present in costume as that individual. Our Face of the History event is actually this week, and I'm so looking forward to it because I've heard the research papers, and we have William Wilberforce, we have William Wallace, we have Beatrix Potter, Amy Carmichael, to mention a few of them, and the children have worked so hard. It was actually difficult trying to get them to calm it down to 5 paragraphs, which was, I think they actually wrote more than what I did for my higher English RPR, one of them. So what happens, all these programmes are only up to age 13, so then you go, well, at 13 what happens if we're left on our own? No. This is where Classical Conversations Challenge programme comes in. It's intended for students who have reached the age of 12 by the 30th of September in that academic year. Students read and do research at home and work through the challenge guide to complete their weekly assignments, which can be tailored to the family's needs, so that when they come to community, they are prepared for the discussion charged challenge programme. They practice the art of grammar and dialectic. Students explore the world through language, nature, cartography, number, logic and stories. In addition, each level has its own capstone event, such as science fair, mock trial, protocol, defending a senior thesis, and a new attribute for students to strive towards. The Challenge programme is a great way to continue that liberal arts education begun in Foundations and Essentials. However, important thing to remember, and this is like capital letters, everyone, you do not have to have done Foundations and Essentials to do Challenge. In fact, the Challenge programme was actually the first programme CC had, and they backwards built Foundations Essentials to support what children would need in Challenge, but you don't have to do it first. Challenge students will graduate Challenge 4 more than prepared for their university careers or wherever the Lord calls them to be. And we are so excited because in August the Glasgow community is going to have a challenge programme available, and we have families that travel from Dumfries, from Ayr, from Edinburgh to Glasgow to join us every week. So we're really hoping that that challenge programme will start to thrive. Earlier this year I spoke to one parent of a child who graduated Challenge 4, and she told me that as a parent she was forever indebted to CC for installing the love of knowledge in her son and creating a programme that not only teaches students core values, but also teaches students how to defend their faith and their values. And finally, we are a community. Home educating is not easy, but it is doable, especially when you have a community of fellow Christian home educators following the same curriculum who can come alongside you. We can play to our strengths. If you're struggling with something, you have a community there walking the same path who can support you and you can support them. Every summer, Classical Conversations holds parent practicums, which is a day-long event and open to absolutely anyone who is interested in the classical model. You don't have to be in CC, so look out for the practicums this summer, where we'll be using the classical tools on the subject of maths. There is so much I would never have been able to do as a home educator if it hadn't been for our community. We have built planetariums the size of gym halls. We have I overcame a phobia I had of seafood. I couldn't touch seafood, but we had to dissect lobster and owl pellets. I got over that. And we created a room into a theatre and dressed up as surgeons for the day when we were doing our My Body project. Classical Conversations, what it really gives you is community, a rigorous curriculum with the training you need to follow it, commitment and accountability to help you educate your children from toddlerhood through to their high school graduation. I started CC with my 4-year-old son in 2020 on my own, and the Lord has been good at every single stage. When we needed to be on our own and learn, we were. And when it was time to grow, the Lord sent the right families at the perfect time for us. And it's been so gradual and such a blessing. So thank you for listening, and if you'd like to learn more about Classical Conversations or discuss possible opportunities in your area, because we're spreading throughout the UK, there's communities everywhere, and just take that step, come and talk to us. Thank you very much.